At 4:18 a.m. on November 2, 1944, a German train screeched to a halt in a forest no map was supposed to show. No signs, no station lights, no markings, just floodlights cutting through fog, and a gate that didn't exist on any official records. Inside one of the cattle cars was Gefreiter Lukas Brandt, age 22, Wehrmacht infantry, Eastern Front veteran, survivor of Kursk and Kharkov. He weighed 119 pounds. His ribs were visible through his uniform. His boots were 2 sizes too big because his feet had shrunk from malnutrition. He believed this was where he would die, not in battle, not in bombing, not in retreat, but in a place no one was supposed to know about. A secret camp. A camp for German soldiers. A camp built not for prisoners of war, but for disappeared men. And the most terrifying part? The guards spoke German. The train doors opened. Cold air flooded the wagon. Pine trees. Wet earth. Fog. Silence. No shouting. No dogs. No chaos. No Red Cross banners. No Geneva markings. Just soldiers in dark uniforms with unfamiliar insignia. Not SS. Not Wehrmacht. Not Allied. Their patches had no flags. One man climbed onto the railcar step and spoke calmly in German. "Leave your belongings. Exit in single file. No talking. No questions." Brandt expected brutality. Rifle butts, screaming, violence, none came. They were marched through the trees for nearly 15 minutes. The forest swallowed the train sounds. The world behind them disappeared. Then the fence appeared, not barbed wire, steel mesh, electrified, triple-layered, taller than any camp fence he had ever seen. Behind it, concrete buildings, watchtowers, searchlights, generator towers, guard dogs, but no flags, no markings, no camp name, just a metal gate with a stenciled number. Facility 17. That was it. No name, no location, no nation. Brandt felt his stomach collapse. This wasn't a POW camp. This was a black site. They were processed immediately. No Red Cross paperwork, no Geneva Convention forms. No POW registration numbers. Instead, fingerprints, full-body photographs, medical inspection, blood samples, interrogation forms in 3 languages, psychological evaluation sheets. One officer spoke perfect German. No accent, no regional markers. Name, rank, unit, birthplace, political affiliation. Party membership, Hitler Youth participation. SS affiliations, family political background. This wasn't military intake. This was ideological screening. When Brandt said he was not a party member, the officer paused. "Your father?" "Railway worker." "Party?" "No." "Mother?" "Housewife." "Party?" "No." The officer made a mark, a green line on the file. Brandt didn't know what it meant. But some men received red marks, some received black marks, and a few received 2 black marks. Those men were separated immediately. Brandt never saw them again. They were marched into Barracks C concrete floors. Metal bunks, no windows, only narrow ventilation slits near the ceiling. Cold white lighting that never turned off. No insignia, no flags, no symbols, no clocks. Only numbers on doors. The beds had no mattresses, just metal frames and thin blankets. The doors locked from the outside. Brandt sat on his bunk and whispered to the man beside him, "Where are we?" The man shook his head. I was captured in Hungary. They told us we were going to a transit camp. Then the train changed direction. Then this. Another prisoner leaned in. I was Luftwaffe, shot down over Romania. This isn't Allied territory. This isn't Russian territory. This isn't German territory. A fourth man whispered something that made Brandt's blood run cold. This is not a prison camp. This is a sorting camp. The food arrived at 7 a.m. Not soup, not bread, not rations. Protein porridge, black bread, butter, hot liquid, not coffee, not tea, some kind of nutrient drink. Enough calories to stabilize starvation victims. Medical-grade feeding. This was not prison food. This was rehabilitation nutrition. Brandt ate slowly. His hands were shaking. His body didn't trust the food. Around him, men were silent. No talking, no noise, just the sound of spoons on metal bowls, and guards watching, not aggressively, not cruelly, clinically, like scientists watching lab subjects. At 9 a.m., the loudspeaker activated. A calm voice, German, neutral accent. Group Green, follow the lights. Green lights activated above certain bunks. Brandt's bed lit up green. So did 31 others. They were marched into Building 4. Inside, classrooms. Actual classrooms. Chairs, tables, chalkboards, projectors. A man in a civilian coat stood at the front. He spoke slowly. Gentlemen, you are not prisoners of war. You are not detainees. You are not inmates. Pause. You are subjects. Silence. You have been selected for ideological evaluation, psychological reconstruction, and political reorientation. Another pause. You were not chosen because of what you did in the war. He looked directly at them. You were chosen because of what you might become after it. Brandt's heart started racing. This wasn't punishment. This wasn't imprisonment. This wasn't interrogation. This was something far more dangerous. Reprogramming. The man continued. Some of you will leave this facility alive and free. Some of you will be transferred. Some of you will disappear from history. No emotion in his voice, no threat, no cruelty, just fact. Your cooperation determines which category you enter. Then the lights went out, projector turned on, and the screen showed footage Brandt had never seen before. German cities destroyed, civilian mass graves, concentration camp footage, starving civilians, executions, burned villages, dead children, not propaganda reels, raw footage, unedited, uncensored. The man spoke quietly. This is not enemy propaganda. This is German documentation. Captured archives, Wehrmacht film units, SS records. Brandt felt sick, not from hunger, from recognition. He recognized units, uniforms, markings, procedures. This was real. Then the man said the sentence that would define Brandt's entire life. You are not here to be punished for the past. Pause. You are here to determine whether Germany has a future. And in that moment, Lucas Brandt understood something terrifying. This camp was not built to kill German soldiers. It was built to decide what kind of Germans were allowed to survive. At 2:13 a.m., Lucas Brandt woke up screaming. Not from a nightmare, from silence. The barracks had gone quiet in a way that felt unnatural. The kind of silence that only happens when something is missing. No coughing, no shifting bodies, no whispers, no breath sounds. Just stillness. He sat up and saw the empty bunks. 7 beds in Barracks C were now vacant, blankets folded, frames clean, no blood, no struggle, no signs of force, just gone. The men who had received double black marks during intake vanished. At morning count, the guards didn't acknowledge the missing men. No roll call corrections, no explanations, no paperwork. They simply counted who was there, not who was gone. That's when Brandt understood the first rule of Facility 17. If someone disappears, they were never here. Breakfast came. Same food, same silence, same clinical routine. Then the loudspeaker. Group Green, Building 4. Again. Same classroom, same man, same calm voice. This time the board had 3 words written in chalk. Identity, obedience, belief. He turned to face them. Every system of power relies on these 3 structures. He pointed to identity. Who you believe you are. He pointed to obedience. Who you believe you must follow. He pointed to belief. What you believe is true. Then he said, Nazism did not rise because Germans were evil. Pause. It rose because German identity was broken. Silence. It replaced personal identity with national identity, individual morality with collective obedience. Personal belief with ideological belief. Then, you were not trained to think. You were trained to align. Brandt felt something shift inside his chest. Not anger, not fear, confusion, because nothing about this felt like enemy propaganda. It felt clinical, analytical, cold. Then came the tests, not physical, not interrogations. Psychological stress tests. They were shown footage and asked to respond, not verbally, biometrically, heart rate, breathing, eye movement, microfacial reactions. They were monitored, measured, mapped. One man started crying uncontrollably during footage of mass graves. He was marked with a yellow symbol on his file. Another man showed no reaction, no change in pulse, no facial movement. He received a black mark. Brandt's pulse spiked. His hands shook. But he didn't cry. He didn't freeze. He felt disgust, but not shock. The observer wrote, emotional response present, cognitive processing active, no ideological dissociation. Another green line. At midday, Group Black was marched past the courtyard. Brandt saw them through the mesh fence. Different uniforms, different markings. They were thinner, quieter, eyes hollow, no classroom buildings, no projectors. They were taken into Building 9. No one from Group Black ever returned. The prisoners started whispering a new name, the Null Block, the place where men weren't executed. They were deleted. No records, no lists, no files, no names, just absence. That night, Brandt whispered to the man beside him, "What do you think happens in Building 9? The man didn't answer immediately. Then, quietly, "My brother was ASS. He went to a camp like this in Poland. He said they didn't kill people." Pause. They broke them so completely that nothing was left. Brandt felt cold spread through his body. On day 4, something changed. They brought in civilians. German civilians. Men, women, even teenagers. No uniforms, no ranks, no military files. One woman was crying hysterically. A teenage boy looked catatonic. The loudspeaker voice said, "Facility 17 processes identity risk profiles, not military profiles." That sentence changed everything. This wasn't a soldier camp. This wasn't a POW camp. This wasn't even a German camp. This was a human filtering system for post-war Europe. Brandt overheard guards speaking English for the first time. Accents: American, British, Canadian. This wasn't one country's project. This was allied, multinational, coordinated. The guards weren't German. They weren't Soviet. They weren't Red Army. They weren't Wehrmacht. They were international, which meant this camp wasn't revenge. It was planning. On day 6, Brandt was called alone. Building 6. Small room, 1 table, 2 chairs, 1 man, civilian clothes, German accent, older, educated, a psychologist, a file folder in front of him. Brandt sat. The man didn't look at the file. He looked at Brandt and asked one question. If Germany had won the war, what would you have become? Brandt opened his mouth, then stopped. He had never thought about it. Not once. He finally answered, a soldier, a husband, a father, a worker. The man nodded. And if Germany loses? Brandt whispered, I don't know. The man leaned forward. That answer is why you are here. Pause. Men who know exactly who they are after defeat become dangerous. Brandt swallowed. What happens to them? The man answered calmly. They join Group Black. Then he said the sentence that shattered Brandt's understanding of the war. This camp exists because the Allies are not afraid of Germany's army. Pause. They are afraid of Germany's ideology surviving the defeat. By day 10, Lucas Brandt stopped thinking of Facility 17 as a camp. It wasn't a prison. It wasn't a base. It wasn't even a detention center. It was a laboratory. Everything ran on schedules that never changed. Lights, food, movement, classes, sleep, silence. Not discipline, conditioning. Group Green's days followed a precise structure. 6 o'clock, wake cycle 6:30, nutritional intake 7:15, psychological session 9 o'clock, cognitive processing 12 o'clock, nutrient feeding 13 o'clock, historical exposure 15 o'clock, ethical conditioning 18 o'clock, isolation period 22 o'clock, sleep cycle, no work, no labor, no punishment, no drills, only mental programming. The sessions weren't lectures. They were deconstruction. They dismantled identity piece by piece. They started with language, words, phrases, concepts. They showed how Nazi ideology redefined language. Honor equals obedience, loyalty equals silence, strength equals cruelty, unity equals conformity, order equals fear. They showed how meaning was weaponized, how words were emptied and refilled. Brandt had never thought about language like that. He had grown up inside it. Then came moral inversion training. They showed Wehrmacht footage of mass executions, then propaganda reels describing them as security operations. Then they showed German newspapers using the word relocation. Then official documents using the word processing. They mapped how violence was hidden behind bureaucracy, not lies, administrative language. One instructor said, "Evil does not require hatred, it requires paperwork." One day, a projector showed a chart. Obedience versus conscience. 2 lines. One rising, one falling. The rising line, obedience. The falling line, conscience. The instructor said, "The Third Reich didn't remove conscience." Pause. It replaced it. Brandt started noticing something terrifying. They weren't attacking Germany. They weren't attacking German culture. They weren't attacking nationalism. They were isolating authoritarian psychology. Not Nazism as a symbol. Nazism as a mental structure. Then came isolation sessions, each man alone in a room. No light changes, no clocks, no sound, just silence. And one recorded voice, not commands, questions, over and over. Who are you without uniform? Who are you without rank? Who are you without orders? Who are you without enemies? Who are you if no one tells you who to hate? Brandt started answering in his head, then out loud, then crying, then silence. Some men broke. One man named Otto Keller started screaming during isolation. He begged for orders. He begged for structure. He begged for someone to tell him what to do. He was removed from Group Green, marked black, transferred, never returned. Others adapted. They stopped reacting emotionally. They stopped resisting mentally. They stopped identifying as soldiers. They became neutral. Observers called it decompression, psychological pressure release. Brandt felt it happening inside himself. Not pain, not fear, but unhooking, like something untying in his chest. Then came the files. Each subject was shown their own psychological profile. Brandt saw his, pages of analysis, personality structure, authority response patterns, empathy index, cognitive independence rating, ideological imprint depth. At the bottom, status, recoverable subject category, post-authoritarian, adaptive risk level, low reintegration, potential, high. He didn't understand all the words, but one phrase stood out, reintegration. Into what? Then the man from Building 6 returned, the psychologist. He sat with Brandt again and told him the truth, not emotionally, not dramatically, just clinically. Facility 17 is part of a network. Pause. Dozens of sites. Pause. Across Europe. Pause. Some for soldiers, some for civilians, some for children. Brandt's breath stopped. Children? Yes. Hitler Youth leadership candidates. Silence. They are the most dangerous demographic. Brandt whispered, "So what is this place, really?" The man answered, "This is not denazification." Pause. "This is ideological quarantine." Then the most terrifying sentence yet. "War ends with surrender." Pause. "Ideology does not." He leaned forward. "You cannot bomb belief systems." Pause. "You cannot execute them." Pause. "You cannot imprison them." Pause. "You can only dismantle them psychologically." Brandt realized something horrifying. This wasn't mercy. This wasn't justice. This wasn't revenge. This was preventative engineering, the shaping of post-war humanity. Then he asked, "What happens when someone passes?" The man replied, "They are released." Where? New identities, new papers, new locations. Germany? Some, not all. Brandt felt cold. And if someone fails? The man didn't hesitate. They are removed from social reintegration pools. Brandt whispered, "You mean killed?" The man answered calmly, "No." Pause. "They are neutralized." On May 8, 1945, the loudspeakers at Facility 17 announced Germany's surrender. No cheers, No reaction. No emotion. Just a sentence. Hostilities in Europe have ceased. Operations will continue as scheduled. That was it. No ceremony, no speeches, no flags, no celebration. The war ended. The camp did not. Brandt expected change. Releases. Transfers. Shutdown procedures, Red Cross inspections, journalists, officials, public records. None came. Instead, schedules remained identical. Classes continued. Processing continued. Groups still disappeared. New subjects still arrived. Now from liberated territories, now from refugee camps, now from displaced persons zones. Not soldiers anymore. Civilians, teachers, doctors, engineers, clergy, students, administrators, the people who would shape post-war Europe. Brandt realized the truth. Facility 17 was never about the war. The war was just the supply chain. One morning, he saw a convoy. Not military trucks, civilian buses, windows covered, children inside, teenagers, ages 12 to 17, some wearing Hitler Youth uniforms, some wearing civilian clothes, all silent, all processed, all classified, all separated. The guards called them second-generation risk subjects. Brandt confronted the psychologist. This is wrong. The man didn't argue. He didn't deny it. He didn't justify it. He simply said, revolutions fail when they remove leaders, but leave belief systems intact. Pause. World War I taught us that. Then he said, Versailles punished Germany's economy. Pause. Not Germany's psychology. Pause. That mistake created Hitler. Brandt whispered, so you're fixing that mistake. The man answered, we're trying to prevent the next one. Brandt began seeing releases. Group Green members started disappearing, not at night, not secretly, but officially. They were given clothes, civilian clothing, documents, identity papers, transit passes. They were escorted out, not transferred, not imprisoned, released, but not to Germany, not to families, not to hometowns, to assigned zones, France, Belgium, Canada, Argentina, Australia, United States, South Africa, distributed, scattered,